Hello, Dr. Wagner, and this
Hello.
is Dharam. Today we have another interesting topic with Dr. Reinhard Wagner. He's a specialist coming from Germany. He belongs to IPMA world. I think you were ex-president, or you're ex-president at the moment, and you've done a lot of work in project management. So let's listen a little bit about you.
Hello, and good day, and here it's good night, because in Germany it's already dark. Yes, and I'm looking forward to the second part of our talk. It's all about passion for projects, for project management, because that's my life. Since more than 35 years, I'm engaged in projects all over the world, and it's a really fascinating topic, and I'm looking forward to the interview and the dialogue.
Great, thank you. And my name is Dharam Singh, and I have been training PgMP, PfMP, project management, you name it. So I started some time back, it's going. And yes, I didn't have passion for project management, but last 15 years, I am into project management, program management, and I built my passion into project management. And that's where I started my company called vCare Project Management. We're just not passionate, we care about project management. So thank you again to coming for this another podcast series, second webinar podcast with you. And again, taking the passion in more detail, we'll talk about various things, including today's topic is predictive versus adaptive project management methodology. So it's a very interesting topic, especially we have a lot of talks, a lot of organizations moving towards Agile, and a lot of work is happening Agile. But some people coming from non-IT background, they probably do not understand much about Agile, why Agile is better than predictive way. And by the way, it's not one is better, other one is not good. It depends on the type of work we're doing. So we have Agile, we have now Waterfall, they call it Waterfall project management methodology. Sometimes they call predictive or planned. And Agile also called, iterative or incremental. There are various forms of Agile, and in between there is another one called hybrid. So, do you have any view about Agile? Then we'll talk about, just let's get establish the definition of these so that people understand this.
Okay. So for me, it's very much important that what you have said, it's not the one that is better than the other, or one versus the other. I think it's very important to see that they all have their reason to be on this earth. And what we as project managers really need to learn, when do we use which approach?
Yeah.
So it's very much depend on the circumstances of the requirements of the project. So first of all, I think that's the key principle. You need to identify the requirements of the project and then select the right approach to the project. This is what I call adaptive. So you adapt to the circumstances of that project. And you said, okay, we started that 20 years back. And I would argue, no, it already started many years back. Actually, I wrote a blog post about the Prussian army, because they had a huge defeat against the French army. 1806 was a huge battle in Jena, a small town in eastern Germany. And the reason was very simple, because the Prussian army was very much drilled to have a clear formation. And the officers were the one that had clear command, and the sous officers and so on, they just need to follow, don't deviate from that commands. So you can imagine, so they marched in huge formations, and certainly there were some obstacles and rivers and trees and so on, but they were just asked to bring their formation towards the French army. And the French army, Napoleon, maybe they did not have that drill. They did not really practice an agile approach, but they were much better organized. So the officers had much more freedom to self-organize, to rearrange their formation, and this made them very successful on the battleground. And in consequence of that defeat, the Prussian army, Scharnhorst, and many other great generals, they thought, okay, how can we prevent that? And they rethought the tactics and brought that to the officer schools and the academies. It was a delegation of authority to the sub-ranks so that they could self-organize, that they could flexibly adapt on the battleground, so that they really are more adaptive in leadership style and formation, in organizing. And 80, 70, and 71, so the Prussian army defeated the French army. And until now, since then, we still have this Auftragstaktik. It's a German word. It means that you arrange in a more self-organized way, just know where the objective is or the goal is, and you organize yourself towards it. And I think that's exactly the same situation that we have in many projects. So because nowadays in a VUCA world with a lot of changes, customers have different demands and so on, you cannot predict everything, especially in large or mega projects to the end. So you need to have close collaboration, communication, self-organization, totally different tactics in order to reach that goal and expectation of the customer. So I think it's not new, it's not there since 20 years, but since 20 years, I would argue the Agile Manifesto also imposed a lot of change to the way of working in projects.
Yeah, so I mean, it's interesting how you put together Agile with something happened in somewhere 1879.
200 years ago, yeah.
Yeah, and yeah, I mean, I used to think that yes, Agile is around 20 years old. Yes, at IT we have done some work and we are doing Agile way. But you said it's coming way beyond, which is interesting to know. So no more Agile is not new. Agile may be older than your planned or waterfall methodology.
Absolutely, and I think the military was anyway very influential on all management techniques and management approaches that we use nowadays.
Yeah. So Agile means moving very fast, or changes are happening, so you adopt with the change and still keeping your focus on the end result. And you mentioned about self-organization. The teams are self-organized and they make the decision and they deliver the work and the do the demo and release by release. And you see the result as a product owner. You're happy, you're not happy, and you continue whether you change with the direction or with the new same direction. Is that something we can put in a nutshell?
Yes, I think the key differences are that in the predictable or waterfall approach, you plan everything in detail. And by the way, it's also very interesting that specific people plan the project. So they are the masterminds. They know what's coming up in the next 2, 3, 4, 5 years of the project, and they drive the very detailed planning. But actually, we see in a VUCA world that the best people to plan a project are those people that are really doing the project.
Doing the work, yeah.
Because they feel and sense what's going on, and they also feel more the urgency of changes and change requests. And that also changes leadership, because in the past, on the waterfall world, someone is telling all the other people or the team what to do. It's work packages and delegation of work and so on and so forth. But in the Agile world, that does not work because it's too slow. So this is why I mentioned self-organization. You certainly, as a leader, need to show the direction. You maybe have a product specification for what at the end you want to have achieved. But on the other hand, the way of organizing is given much more into the hands of the people, because they are more adaptive, more flexible. and can rearrange. So iteration also is a very different way of working in such an agile project. And maybe a third thing is also that in the waterfall approach, we strive for perfectionism. Everything is looking for a perfect product. And no failures are allowed. Everything should be running as planned. But in the agile world, definitely, we are looking for first prototypes. We are trying, we are muddling through. Maybe people don't hear that. They don't like to hear that, but muddling through is something, and it's an approach that we use in an agile environment because it's much better to try it and try it again with the feedback of the customer. So you must faster to achieve something than if you work 3 years and then the customer saying, no, it's not what I wanted to have. Okay?
Exactly. And that's where the customer can see the value coming early rather than waiting for 3 years when they start using it. And 3 years is a long time. By the time they start seeing that, hang on, this is not what we need now. It was good 2 years ago, 3 years ago, but now we have moved on. We should have stopped this project a long time back. But in Agile, you actually see the product or part of the product, sooner, or maybe 2 weeks, 4 weeks, a kind of thing. So that gives the opportunity to the product owner or the business to see if we continue with the same path or should we change or make some adjustment and then get a better outcome for the organization.
Absolutely, yeah. And it's not so I would argue that we need to have a full toolkit of approaches, methods, and tools to be applied in a project or 2 projects. So in a project, you may start with design thinking because it's the very creative phase where you need to approach more brainstorming techniques and you need to be innovative, not so much process oriented and so on. People need to understand they have the space to be creative. So design thinking may be a good approach to start with. The closer you come to a really development part of or phase of the project, maybe you use Scrum as an approach because it's an iterative process. So you produce the first prototypes and continue and working and so on. And then there may be a phase where you work more on a lean or a Kanban approach, because then you're going more and more in the direction of production or operations or whatever the product of your project is. So you're more and more converging to the end result of that. So per phase, you may even use a different approach. And this is why some call it also a hybrid model, where you mix several approaches into one approach to tackle a project. In automotive industry, for example, we always have a hybrid approach because on the long run, you need a car coming out, but within that whole long product development process, which is 3 to 5 years, you certainly have phases and deliveries where you have software for connectivity or whatever it is, infotainment systems or software for your steering boards that you really develop in an agile way. But the mechanical parts still follow more the waterfall approach because it's much more predictive. It's, let's say, routine processes that they utilize. And the closer you come to production, the more you're back to this, let's say, more serious approach of doing projects. So it's not one approach. So it's several approaches in one project that you use depending on the phases.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, exactly. It depends on the type of work we're doing, the complexity it has, and how urgently it has to be in the market. Many factors are there. And just to give you one example, and many people think that Agile is applicable to most of the time into the IT world, where you're building the software or application or website. My example is coming from setting up the data center. That's the cloud data center for HP. That is back in Sydney, when I was in Sydney, Australia. That time, I'll tell you, this was kind of impossible project. When I'm in November, my manager, he was in Melbourne, and we are having chat. Hey, Dharam, this is a project. We have to get it done. What happened in this case? HP has sold. The sales team was very efficient. They sold the cloud technology, cloud data center, to many of the very high-profile customers, Energy Australia and Telstra, this and that, all the big names, and nothing was there. You will surprised to know that nothing was there to say anything. Now here I was talking with my manager, and he said, "Dharam, this is the kind of situation we are in. We are in that bottom end, so we have to deliver it. And I know the first data center has to be ready by March. Second has to be ready by June, fully connected, all the devices, everything. And we're talking $30 million work in less than 6 months, full." So I told my, look, Bob, his name, think it's achievable. And the thing is that I was new and I was a consultant. I have to establish my thing. So look, Bob, we can do with this. It's achievable. Only thing, if you don't ask my schedule, my risk management, and all the process, I love to talk in the traditional project Waterfall. So I was running this project in an agile way, without knowing that I'm running an agile way. So he said, Dharam, don't worry about all this thing. Let's get started. And I will look after a lot of stakeholder engagement, and you look after the building and setting up everything. So I didn't use full agile, I think, but just like in any traditional IT world, IT project. But in this case, I was having meeting. I have 2 stand-ups. Agile, we talk about stand-ups. One stand-up was with, I'm the one reporting to the senior management at the Asia Pacific level, all the big names. 7 o'clock in the morning, they're asking, and in this case, more like I'm reporting to them. The second, or the stand-up was with my team in Manila. So we are asking the data center people, the server people, with the backup people, just like any agile ceremony we have. What did you do, and what are you going to do today, and what are the impediments? And that's very quick. So that's one of the classic thing we do in any agile project. At the same time, the resources were not given to me upfront. I didn't have money, to talk about. We're talking $30 million work. I was not given budget at the time. So he said, Dharam, get started, get us the requirements. We'll go piece by piece. So while it was an impossible project to do, but when it's finished, I think my manager told me, Dharam, I've seen many project managers in my life. They sit behind the processes. That's a waterfall, typical waterfall. You said we can do it, and you did it. I didn't say, I told him that it's more about agile, a way of doing things, and maybe hybrid as well in between. So I think, not only agile can be applied to this IT world, but other areas as well. But we need to be careful what part of agile can be applied.
Absolutely. We at Tiba also have experiences in the industrial world, in let's say the classical industry. And the reasons are very different. So we had one customer, it was a refinery in Germany, and they had really an incident, a terrible incident, where they need to rebuild a whole part of the plant. So they had no time. They said, we need to speed up that, because every day we are off business. That costs us a hell of a lot of money. And they asked us, what can we do now? And we said, okay, why not try agile approach to speed up the whole rebuild of that factory? And actually they saved 30% of the time that is usually needed to rebuild it. And we did test that also with other customers, like a big chemical company, a German one, which is also in the US. And now we are helping them in the very early engineering phase to speed up that whole plant design by 30% of time through agile teams. yet for them, it's a huge cultural change. Because if a company like that one, it's a huge company with a lot of hierarchy and very clear procedural stuff, it's very difficult to adopt this mindset of working and also this different leadership style that we need. So if you're interested, I can speak also a bit about the preconditions that we have. If we implement, especially in the industrial environment, agile or hybrid approaches.
Yeah, I would love to hear about that. And so let's talk about, let's listen to you. Do you have something to share or?
Yes, but I need.
Okay, let me make you, I don't know, allow you to put in. Can we talk? I think there's I have to make you presenter, but there's a little trick in this. But let's get started. We can talk about it, and let me see. Okay, I think I can do it for you. Okay, make a host. Yeah, please go ahead.
No, it works. Okay. I'd just like to share, and you see also the source. There's a white paper that somebody that is interested can download. So we call it the 7 principles of agile organizations. And let's start to talk from the left. Because now the role of the people in agile projects is a very different one.
Yeah.
They are not just waiting on somebody to tell them what they need to do. No, it's a voluntary action. The people, they have the motivation, they have all their skills and ability, and they just need to put them into the project. So with all passion. But that requires, and that's the second one, that they need to have a protected environment. So a space where they can maneuver, a space where they can self-organize. And that's 3 also, that they also build a real team with a diverse set of abilities. And, so that they create synergies in that team. And I think that's not present in many of the organizations I see in the industrial world. So that they are more, let's say, open to do that. And as you mentioned in the beginning, it's all about iteration. We call that principle iterate to wow. So step by step, you improve your prototypes to come to the wow effect for the customer and the customer value, because everything what we do, that's the horizontal is the value stream of that organization. We need to have customer value at the end. Now, as I said, it really depends on the management or the leaders. They have a very different role. And we call it, it's a supportive leadership or supportive management function. Supportive means they do not command and control. So they support the team in achieving and making everything happen, provide the resources and the orientation to coaching and training for them. So it's a very different leadership role. And on the top, it's 7, we call it mutual tuning. It's like if you have an orchestra and you are the conductor, you need to announce what is the piece we are playing. So you need to have a vision and mission. You need to have a harmony. And that's also one part of the organization. And you need to have clarified values and a culture, a collective mindset, so that this value stream really can work. And so in essence, it means the organization need to be prepared for working agile or in a hybrid manner. Otherwise, it will not work.
Great, good presentation. I like your little scribbling. I was thinking maybe your little boy or girl has done that. Anyway.
No, that was Tiba team, and they developed that concept. And it's really working because that's also a difficult message, because if you come in the company, they say, hey, we'd like to work Scrum. Then you say, okay, we can do that, but first we need to go through these 7 principles and see whether you meet the preconditions. If not, I think we will never be successful with Scrum.
Yeah, another thing, I don't know if you know, PMI has released a new product. They call it Discipline Agile. They actually purchased a company. They were specialized in Discipline Agile. And number of certificates into DASM, DASSM, and others as well. So it is kind of the same principle. It's not that they are bringing new agile methodology or new way of breathing. It's the approaches to figure out which way to go. That's like what we're talking here, whether we do the predictive, whether we do the agile. In agile, you have iterative or lean. So they call it way of working, wow, kind of thing. And that helps you to pick the right methodology, whether it's agile, iterative, lean, and even, if you know, agile, it's not just agile, there are many of them. And accordingly, then they will get into, maybe they're using safe agile or something else. That's a different story. But I actually did this certificate, DASM, DSSM. Interesting concept. I thought it's going to teach me another way of doing agile, just like in safe or other certificate, but it has altogether different. It's about building the team, getting the team, being agile team, all kind of thing. I like that approach. So yes, having agile, I mean, we'll talk about agile mindset, but more about having the right environment and having the team, which are, they can make errors if we like that, like experiment, and self-adjustment, and then keep delivering the work piece by piece by piece, and then finally you have a big picture.
Absolutely,
yeah.
But it's a big change for organizations, and especially for the leadership, because what you have said, and I know Discipline Agile is also changing the organization and the style of leadership. And so this is why the biggest change is there, to more from an authoritarian type of leadership that telling the people what to do, to be more the coach, the support, maybe the servant. So some call it the servant leadership style.
Servant leadership style, yes.
And for the people themselves, it means they need to have a full toolbox of approaches, of mindsets, of methodologies, and they need to decide when is the right moment in the project to use the hammer or the drill or whatever they have in their toolbox. And that's the same with this agile or waterfall or hybrid or whatever.
Exactly. Yeah, so, this topic is very interesting and we can keep talking about this forever. But given that, we have to stop, we can have another discussion. So the people who are still thinking about waterfall or agile, or they want to learn more about agile, different concept, whether they want to know Discipline Agile or Scrum or Scale Agile, they can reach out to us to learn more about these things, and we can help you in the transformation, digital transformation from where you are to full, not digital, but the agile transformation. So you can start delivering your high-profile work in a faster and agile way, and get the results for your organization, for your businesses in a much faster way. Yes, there are some risk involved in that. We have to be careful about that. We don't want to be over-ambitious. We don't want to think that we will be there in a month or two. It is a journey where we have to take the management along with us, the teams along with us, and build the teams in such a way they are really highly productive and energetic team. So they are delivering the work day by day, week by week, and get the results for the organization.
Yeah, maybe that's a good point for next session. Talk about agile scaling, because what we talk today is more about using agile in a project environment.
Yeah.
But you scaled agile framework, SAFe, for example, that means to scale not only one team, but many teams up to the portfolio level.
It
has huge implications for the organization and its leadership. But I think that's a topic for our next talk.
Great stuff. Thank you very much. Thank you. It was really nice talking with you. I hope people are liking it. If you're liking, please feel free to put some comment, share with your friends, and tell us, if you want to hear more or some new topics from me, or for anybody you feel he's a great leader, and or you want to come and talk to us, why not? We can have a podcast or a webinar like this. So, I will continue talking with Mr. Wagner, Reinhard. I think I'm still having difficulty. I'm sure by the time we finish our discussion, I'll know your name properly. So Reinhard Wagner, Wagner. I think that's correct. And thank you very much once again. And I will see you soon again to talk about a new topic, interesting topic. It's always a pleasure to talk with you. So see you soon.
Thank you for the invitation. Happy projects and stay safe.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.